And this way, we can you can learn more about what I'm talking about, and wrap your mind around more of that. So let's go on and look at the introduction. We're in part 2 of the introduction, and we're going to be talking today about the process of change. We're going to talk about the process of change, and as we get started, we're going to talk about a simple 3-step process to be able to change your life. And this method is very well known. It's used by business leaders around the world. It's used by the military. It's used by churches and ministries. I've seen this all over the place. So it's a very well-known method of changing, and so it's real simple. Knowing, doing, and being. Knowing, doing, and being. And our version of that, and the way we're going to walk through that, is self-awareness, self-control, and self-mastery. So it's not enough to know. Knowing is the beginning. So think about it. When you first learned to drive a car, for example, you learned where the gas pedal was, you learned where the brake was, you learned how the steering wheel works, the blinkers, your mirrors. So you started learning the information and the knowledge. Then when you started doing it, it was a little bit scary at first. You had to really focus all of your attention so that you didn't crash, or you did the right things, you parallel parked, you turned the right way. But as you continue to do it, as you continue to practice, what happened is that became an automated process for you. And that's why now when you drive, most of the time we're not even paying attention to where, our driving. We're thinking of all these things, listening to the radio, listening to podcasts, but yet we still drive safely home. What is happening? Our subconscious has already automated this process, and it is now a being part of us. It's not something that we have to cognitively think about. It's not something that we have to focus our attention on so much, unless something out of the ordinary happens, and then your conscious mind kicks in and takes back over. Same thing with riding a bike. Well, that is the same process that you're going to use to change your life, because there are automations going on within you. I want you to understand that your subconscious is not your enemy. Your subconscious is your friend, and your subconscious is actually going to help you to be the best you. The problem is that we have programmed our subconscious with bad habits, with false beliefs, with things that are not helpful to us anymore. And some of those things may have been needed at a certain time of our life. There's some defense mechanisms, for instance, that we learn to act a certain way or to talk a certain way, maybe because of our environment, because we had to do that to survive, or we had to act that way in that relationship. But now maybe we've moved on for that, and we're not even in that relationship, or we're not in that environment, but we still have those subconscious programs that are running, and they are tripping us up, and we're self-sabotaging ourselves. And so what we want to do is take a deep look inside and say, what are the programs running in me that are now obsolete? They no longer serve me. They're not helping me be my best. And we're going to start deleting some of those old programs, and the way we're going to do it is we're going to unlearn them by learning new things and practicing new things and creating new habits, and then you're going to have habits of success. And that's what we want to do. That's what this course is all about. So I want to also talk to you about another a process of change that was written by psychologists called the stages of change. This is the trans-theoretical model developed by Prochaska and Di Clemente. And so I want to talk to you about these stages of change. The first stage that we're going to look at is pre-contemplation. So this is the beginning before there's any change. In this stage, people do not even intend to take action in the foreseeable future. The foreseeable future being seen as in the next 6 months. So people at this point are often unaware that their behavior is problematic or produces negative consequences. So at this time, and you may have been there, you might know somebody right now that you're telling them, hey, I'm taking this Reboot course, or hey, I'm trying to grow myself, I'm trying to be better. And they're just right away like, nah, that's not for me. They don't care. They don't want to know anything new. They're just stuck where they're at. They're okay where they're at. That's because they're in this stage of change. It's the pre-contemplation stage, before they're even thinking about it. They don't even realize that they're hurting themselves yet. They don't even realize what they're doing that's going to accumulate and hurt them down the road. And so in this stage, people often underestimate the pros of changing their behavior, and they place too much emphasis on the cons. So they're not really excited to change because all their focus is on is like, oh, that's too much. I don't want to tune into that program. I don't want to go to school. I don't feel like it. I don't want to change yet. They're focused on the work that it's going to take, and they're not learning the pros, the positives. But you don't understand. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be better. You're going to make more money. You're going to be more happier. And so it's so important that we learn how to start to contemplate. After this stage, we go into the contemplation stage. In the contemplation stage, people are intending to start the healthy behavior in the foreseeable future, defined as within the next 6 months. So what that means is that they're starting to say, you know what, I'm going to change soon. You kind of get this feeling, and I know some of you have been there where you're like, I'm ready. I can see that this is not helping me, my habits, my attitudes, what's going on in my life, and you can see it. And so you start to kind of project and start to kind of say, you know what? I don't want to be this way. I intend to be different this year. I intend 2021 to have a different outcome. And so we see in this stage, you start to really plan and start to contemplate and think, how am I going to change my life? I'm ready to be different. People recognize that their behavior is problematic, and they take a thoughtful approach, considering the pros and cons of changing their behavior. Even with this recognition, people still feel hesitant toward changing their behavior in this stage. So even though they see that things are happening, their relationship is broken, their job isn't working out, they're not happy at work, they're not happy with how their lifestyle is, they realize they need more, they need something different, but they're still hesitant, they're still kind of not really following through and starting to take action the way they need to take action. And then we go into the third stage, which is preparation, determination. In this stage, people are ready to take action within the next 30 days. Like, I'm hoping most of you in this room are at this stage, that you're determined, that you're preparing, that you're, if not beyond this, and we'll look at that, but at least here where you start to take small steps, like coming to Reboot, like setting your alarm, making sure you show up, like writing down your goals that I told you last week. Going ahead and doing those simple little things that you can do toward changing the behavior. They believe changing their behavior could lead to a healthier life. At this point, you really understand, I really change me and I become better, then my life's going to get better. And I hope that that's where most of us here are. Or in this stage, the action stage. In this stage, people have recently changed their behavior, defined as within the last 6 months, and intend to keep moving forward with the behavior change. People may exhibit this by modifying their problem behaviors and acquiring new healthy behaviors. And that's where we're at. We're starting to take action. And I'm going to teach you through this course how to actually do this in real time. But many of you may already be here. In the last 6 months, maybe you got stirred up already. Something already inspired you. Maybe you got desperate and you said, you know what, I'm taking action and I'm going to start changing the way I talk, the way I act, the way I think. Maybe you're in the action stage. And then there's the maintenance stage, stage 5. In this stage, people have sustained their behavior change for a while, defined as more than 6 months. So in this stage, people are actually still changing. They're keeping their change going. They're not reverting back. It's been 6 months. They're not going back to drugs. They're not going back to being an alcoholic. They're not going back to arguing and fighting and having that bad attitude. They're not going back. They're seeing real sustainable change in their life. People in this stage, they work hard to prevent relapse. So at this maintenance stage, they're just like, let's just keep it going. I don't want to go backwards. That's what I'm focused on. I got a little momentum rolling now. I just want to keep it up. I just want to keep this growth going on within my life. And then we go on to the termination stage, stage 6. In this stage, people have no desire to return to their unhealthy behaviors and are sure they will not relapse. This stage is rarely reached Most people tend to stay in the maintenance stage. Most people kind of just keep walking that line, and I really hope I don't go back to the old me. And I hope to teach you through this course how to be able to overcome that and get to the termination stage. And the reason why is because you actually now will have a new narrative. You're going to be an actual new you. I'm talking about your brain is going to be rewired for success. The chemicals in your body, your state of being is going to be different. And you're not going to, it's going to take so much effort to go back to that old messed up way that you're not going to do it. Because it's going to be automatic for you to have these healthy habits and this healthy mindset, and you're going to be reaping the rewards of what you've done in your life, and it's going to be so exciting that you're not going to want to go back and say, never again will I go back to that. Never will I do that again. And that's where we all want to get to. So to give the effort required for growth, it's important that we believe these three things that I want to talk to you about right now, and that is, we have the ability to change, number one, and I'm going to prove that to you today. Also, number two, that we have a responsibility to be of value. And then number three, that the reward is worth the effort. I want to show you that it's worth changing your life and becoming a better version of you. So let's start with this concept that we have the ability to change. I want you to understand, and I want to prove to you something right now, that if you are a human being, there is so much power that you have access to that you are not accessing, and I want to show you how you can access that. So we're going to start with a question: what makes humans so special, and why do we dominate the earth? I mean, if you really think about it, we really are. We have the ability through the law of association to learn about new things. In other words, if I know what water is, then I could understand, and I know what a cup is, then I can associate getting a cup full of water if you told me that. So we learn this and we learn that, and through the law of association, we could put them together. The other thing is we can compound knowledge, meaning that we can understand concepts. So when we learn about concepts, it's like, I don't just know what a chair is and a desk is and a table is and a couch is, but we could actually just say furniture. And furniture would describe all of these words. I know what a dog is and a cat is, and I know what a lion is and a gorilla is. So a concept is animal. So because we have this ability to put all these words into categories and create concepts, that's the reason that we can compound knowledge. And that's what makes us so smart. That's why we can outsmart the rest of these animals. It's because of our frontal lobe. It's because our frontal lobe's mass is greater than other animals. Some of them have bigger brains than us, but they don't have a bigger frontal lobe as it pertains to the size of their brain. So our frontal lobe is what's giving us this cognitive ability to do all these things. So not only do we have the ability to compound knowledge, but we have the ability to reason. We have the ability to make rational choices. We can really look at things and say, you know what, this right here is not what I want to do. I think this is right, and I think this is wrong. And we can evaluate those things within our life. We don't have to just take it in and accept everything just the way it is. We can actually have the ability to critically think. See, reasoning is the capacity to consciously make sense of things and applying logic and adapting or justifying practices and beliefs based on new information. So that's like critical thinking. So what this means is when you get new information in, what happens is that you're able to analyze that information based on old information and say, you know what, this is important for me, and I need to change this about my life because this new information that I'm receiving supersedes the old information. In other words, I could make that rational choice. And so it's so important that we learn how to use that ability to think critically and not just accept the way things are. So not only that, but it gives us this ability to decide. It gives us this ability to decide. Option one, option two. I got options, right? Some of you got options. And you don't got to settle. And it's so important that you understand that you have options, that you don't have to settle, and that you have the ability to decide for yourself. I want you to know that you have been given this great gift, and it's called free will. And the reason it's important you understand this is because too many of us give away our free will to men. Why would you give a person your free will when the creator of the universe gave it to you? I want you to understand that we need to stop letting people choose our life for us. We need to stop letting people tell us who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to be, and you're just going to do this and you're just going to do that, and putting us in these boxes. Listen, God gave you this great will, and I want you to start exercising that will and that ability so that you can be yourself. I want you to use your ability to decide for yourself. So also, I want you to understand that you have the ability to imagine. You have the ability to imagine. This is an amazing ability because we're able to dream up new things. You see, everything that is seen in this world today, it was created first in the mind, in the mind's eye. We have this tremendous ability to be able to see things that are not there, to imagine new things that we can create. What an amazing ability that we have, that our mind has. Everything that you see in this world physically was first brought into the world through an idea. It was first brought into the world through the mind's eye of imagination. I want you to start to imagine a new you. I want you to start to imagine a healthy marriage. I want you to start to imagine healthy relationships with your children. I want you to start to imagine you living your dream life. I want you to imagine you starting a business, or you going back to school and getting your degree. Maybe you become a doctor, you get your master's, you start your own practice. I want you to start to break out of the box that was put on you and start to imagine new things for your life. It's so important. Albert Einstein, he said, imagination is everything. It is the preview to life's coming attractions. In other words, it's the preview to what's next. What's next for you? Don't let nobody decide that. This is for you to decide and to use this God-given ability to imagine what you want to be. Napoleon Hill can conceive and believe it can achieve. So not only can we imagine, but we can believe in things. We can send out a signal into the universe by faith that begins to move things in our direction and begins to move things around in our lives. And we're going to talk about how this works throughout the weeks. But it's so important that you understand this power you have called faith. See, a lot of times we think this is just a religious power, but it is not. It is a power the Creator has given every single human being on the earth. People that believe in things start to behave like it. When they believe that there's someone special, they start acting like it. When they believe they can build a business, they start building a business. When they believe they can be a better father, they start being a better father or a better mother. It all starts with faith. I want you to start believing that you're more than you thought before. I want you to start having faith in what the Creator has given you to become and say, I'm going to be more than I thought before, and I'm going to believe in more, and that's going to produce more within your life. As a matter of fact, even Jesus himself in Mark chapter 9 verse 23 says, if you can, Jesus said, everything is possible for those who believe. It's so important, this power that we begin to access. I mean, even when Jesus healed people, what did he tell them? Your faith has made you well. There are so many of us that are sick in body, or we're struggling with anxiety and fear, and we're struggling with depression, and all because we can't believe that there's better. We can't believe good things are going to happen to us. We can't believe we're going to be healthy. All we have to do is start to move in faith and believe, and you're going to see a change within your life. Number 2. We're going to talk about the fact that we have a responsibility to be of value. A responsibility to be of value. Listen, we're not here on this earth just to suck air and die. We're not here on this earth just to be here for a moment and not contribute anything back. We need to contribute back to the universe. Everything in the universe gives back. There's a perfect ecosystem. There's a perfect solar system. There's a perfect way the Creator made things so that everything is in harmony and it's feeding into each other and it's giving back. Humans are the only ones that took the free will of themselves to start to destroy the planet, to start to be takers and be selfish. And instead of contributing, instead of giving back their gift, they find themselves just wanting to take and take and take. And that's why they're miserable inside. That's why they're empty, because there's no amount of outer things that can fill that inner need. Listen, when you get healed on the inside, when you have peace with you and the Creator, all of a sudden there's a need to give. All of a sudden you want to find a platform and an opportunity. How do I contribute to my family? How do I contribute to my community? My place of work? That's where we need to get. We have a responsibility to do so, to give back. See, one of the greatest battles fought in the mind is to determine who we truly are and what we should do with our lives. People for generations have been asking themselves this question. Philosophers for thousands of years have tried to find the answer to these questions. What do I do with my life? Why are we here? What should I do? How should I behave? How should I think? And when we look at it, it's important to understand that it's natural for us to begin with imitation. We can go on to the next slide. It's natural for us to begin with imitation. You see, everything begins with imitation because we don't know any better. So you see these children, they're just copying. And that's what we do. Every time we learn something new, we're just copying what we see. And so we get into a place where we get used to copying stuff. We get used to copying around us and trying to fit in with our surrounding. And this is normal. There's nothing wrong with that in the beginning. This is a normal phase of childhood. And I want you to understand here, let's look at what Dr. Bruce Lipton said. He said, delta and theta brain frequencies define a brain state known as hypnagogic trance. So there are different brain frequencies, and we're going to learn more about that. There's high beta, there's beta, which is what we're in when we're alert and we're awake and we're stressed. We're in the beta frequency. Then when you go into like meditation or you start to fall asleep, you get more relaxed, you go into something called an alpha state, which is a more creative state that your brain goes into. And then even deeper than that, you go into theta. And that's when you're like half asleep, half awake pretty much. And you can get there. It's possible in meditation. This is a place where your body starts to replenish and heal. It goes to work to make you, to help heal your body and clear out your brain at that time. And then you go into delta, and that's like a deep sleep. Okay, but he's saying here, let's look at what he's saying. The same neural state as hypnotherapists use to directly download new behaviors and info to the subconscious mind of their clients. So these brain states of delta and theta, that's what hypnotherapists do. That's how they get into your subconscious. They put you in these brainwave states, and then they start putting information in you, and basically they're reprogramming you that way. But look at what he says. A child's perception of the world are directly downloaded into the subconscious during this time without discrimination. He's talking about a child that's from 1 to 6 years old, before 7 years old. So before 7 years old, a child is just downloading everything that it sees. It has to. It lives. The child before 7 lives in this state of brainwave state. And what that means is that there's no filter. They're not able to cognitively reason and say this is right and this is wrong. It's just going into them. And that's why your nature and your nurture is so important. When the environment you grew up in is controlling a lot of what you're acting like, what you're thinking like, because you were coded this way. You were not coded by DNA, but by your surroundings, by how you grew up. You were being coded and in a trance, this state of mind. So why is this important to understand? Because this is how the process of belief and behavior formation happens. This is how your ego was formed. So what does that mean? Your environment sends a signal. So if you're in a violent environment, then right away that signal comes to you. Now you have to create a perspective. You have a perspective based on that outer signal. That's how you perceive what's happening, meaning, am I going to fight back or am I going to run? What kind of person am I going to be in this violent environment? Right? Maybe you're born in an environment where everything was given to you and you have all these opportunities. Some people might be in that place and say, oh, I don't need to do nothing. Everything's given to me. Other people say, I don't want everything given to me. I'm going to do it myself. All of this is based on your perspective and how you perceive what's happening to you. You create a meaning for it. That's the next phase. You have a reason. What is your reason? We create a meaning and formulate a response. In other words, because I see it this way, I think of it this way, and this is who I'm going to be because of it. This is how I'm going to act because of it, and that causes our behavior, our course of action. Once we do this over and over, now this creates our habits and our patterns within our life. So I want you to understand how this happened to you. So what am I talking about? Let's say that there's a mom in the backyard, and she has her little 5-year-old kid out there with her. And a snake comes out of the bush right there. And she starts screaming, a snake! And she runs. What's the kid going to think? The kid's going to get scared like the mom and say, a snake! And run. And for the rest of its life, it's going to be afraid of snakes because of that perception and what it viewed and how it was programmed. Let's go to the next yard over. Say that snake slithers over into the next yard. But yet that mom and that child, that mom's a zookeeper. And she knows all kinds of stuff about snakes. And so she sees the snake and she sees that it's just a garden snake. And she says, oh, look at son, look at this little garden snake. He can't hurt you. This is what it looks like and this is how it is. And she picks it up and all of a sudden now this kid, he don't look at it the same way the kid next door does. He says, hey, that's a safe snake. That's okay. So based on the perception and the surrounding, change the reaction and what that kid becomes like for the rest of their lives and how they think and how they act. So understanding this now, that who you are right now has been shaped and formed by your surroundings growing up, by your perception and your choices that you made. So what ends up happening is we find ourselves in a place where we're trying to wear a shoe that don't fit because we're trying to fit in with the surroundings. And all of a sudden, you ever wore a shoe that didn't fit? It hurts. I remember when I was younger, I used to live with some friends. And we were going to go to Magic Mountain one day. We said, let's go to Magic Mountain. And we were going to go to Magic Mountain. And one of my friends had just bought some dope K-Swiss back in the day, right? Who wore K-Swiss, huh? Well, he had some dope K-Swiss, these beige ones. And so he had these beige K-Swiss. And I wanted to wear them because they matched with I had this dope hoodie that it would match with. But he wore a size 9 and I was a size 10.5. But I was so set on wearing this guy's shoes because of the color that I was like, I'm going to make it work, bro. I'm going to put my foot in this shoe. And I forced my foot into that shoe and went to Magic Mountain. So all day long, walking around Magic Mountain, my foot is in so much pain, and it's like a little stump. And I'm like, I hate it. I wish I would have worn my other shoes. I would have looked better if I would have worn my other shoes. And what is the point of the story? Sometimes we try to put on stuff that fits other people, but it doesn't fit us. I want you to know that life begins to hurt. When life is hurting, usually it's because you're trying to be something you're not. You're trying to fit into a mold that someone else is putting you into. You're trying to fit into a mold that look good on someone else, but it doesn't look good on you. That's when life starts to hurt and it doesn't feel right anymore. And we need to step out of those shoes that don't fit. And we need to find who we are and what we love to do and our own passions and what makes us look good. We need to stop just trying to be like the rest of the world. Listen, as a kid, it was okay to be a copycat and just go with the flow. But as an adult, we could no longer just go with the flow. At some point, we're going to have to take the training wheels off. At some point, we're going to have to start to be unique. We're going to have to start to feel comfortable in our own skin and say, I'm not like that. I'm not like you. I understand that that's who you are, but this is who I am. This is what I love. This is what I want to do with my life. Take the training wheels off and start to be yourself. See, eventually, we got to grow up. The Apostle Paul, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I understood as a child. That meant he calculated like a child. He added things up like a child. Some of us are calculating life like a child. We're looking at life circumstances like children, and we're throwing fits and tantrums, and we're angry at everybody because we're not happy with who we are. But it's important that we put away childish things and we start to grow up and be who we're supposed to be. You see, the purpose of life is to discover your gift. The work of life is to develop it. And the meaning of life is to give your gift away. Psychologist David Viscott said that the purpose of life is to discover your gift. The work of life is to develop it. And the meaning of life is to give it away. And that's what I want every single one of you to do. I want you to discover your gift. I want you to work on your gift. I want you to develop your gifts and then start to give that gift away. And eventually that gift is going to make room for you. Eventually people are going to start to take notice that you're being yourself, that you're good and excellent at something. See, as long as you're trying to be like everyone else, you're always going to be second best. You're always going to be second class. You're never going to feel like you're the best you. But once you get into your own skin and you say, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, all of a sudden it feels good and people start to take notice and the whole world steps aside for the person that knows where they're going. It's so important. Everybody is a genius, Albert Einstein said. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Listen, there are too many people that are feeling like they're stupid, and it isn't because they're stupid, it's because they're not in the right environment. Listen, if I were to get a fish and throw it in the air, it's going to look stupid because it can't fly. If I were to get a bird and stuff it in the water, it's going to look stupid because it can't swim. But if I get a bird and I throw it in the air, you're going to see the majesty of that bird. You're going to see the gifts of that bird. If I throw a fish in the water, you're going to see it become a master of its environment. See, some of you think you're dumb or you're stupid, but you're not. You just have to find your element. And when you find your element, you're going to become a master of your environment. And you're going to be able to subdue everything around you. And that's where I want to help you get to, my friends. I want you to find your genius. Find your genius. But in order to do that, we must be in our element. We got to find our platform. What is your platform? Some of you may at work, a work is a platform, right? Maybe your church, maybe your nonprofit. At home, you have a platform to learn to be a better parent. What is a platform? It's an opportunity for you to practice your skill sets. It's an opportunity for you to use your gifts. So sometimes we don't find our platform overnight. Sometimes it's difficult, but wherever you're at, it's important to start where you're at. If you're at home and you're starting your own home business, then that's your platform. If you have a job right now and maybe you get put in a place of leadership, that's your platform to develop as a leader. Whatever it is, wherever you're at, start to use your abilities and use your gifts, because as you start to practice being who you are, you're going to find yourself. You're going to find your genius eventually. But you got to sometimes try new platforms. I've done all kinds of different stuff to discover my gifts. I tried all kinds of different jobs, all kinds of different positions, all kinds of opportunities that I had. And sometimes I said, I don't like doing that. And sometimes I loved it and I said, this is me. This is what I want to do with my life. And sometimes you just got to get started wherever you're at. And then eventually as you go, you're going to start to find out who you are. You're going to be honest with yourself. But it's important to start the process. Geniuses that we look at like Kobe Bryant or Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson, and we look at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we look at Steve Jobs, and it's like, whoa, look at these people. But all they did was follow their passion. All they did was do what they love, and that's why they became the best at it. And that's what I want you to do. You see, every single one of us has a gift that we can give the world. Every single one of us has a gift to offer the world, and it's so important that you understand that you have gifts inside of you. I don't care if somebody told you you were dumb or you don't have no abilities or you don't have no gifts. That's a lie. I don't want you to believe that. I want you to understand that there is a wealth of potential inside of you. You have gifts you haven't unwrapped yet. You have beautiful things about you you haven't discovered yet. And that's what I hope to do in this course, is help you to discover the best you. You see, if we truly want to be fulfilled in this life, we're going to have to learn to find that gift and give it away. You see, byproducts of giving your gift to the world are these three things: significance, purity, and satisfaction. When you start to give your gift to the world, all of a sudden you become significant. When you start doing something so good that it has a great value to it, and other people want to know you because of it, and they want to be around you, and they want to go and do business with you, all of a sudden it feels good. Now you feel significant. You feel important. You feel valued. And why? Because you gave your gift out. You gave it to other people. You put value on other people. And because of that, now you're valued, and now you have significance. And then you have security. Everybody wants to be secure. Everybody wants to feel like they know where they're going and they have some sense of stability in their life. That comes when you discover your purpose, because now you're not shifting here, there. Every year you're somebody else. Now you're this person and you're heading in this direction, and you start to feel this sense of security inside. And then there's this satisfaction. There's this joy, like not just pleasure of happy, like a happy moment, but there's this overall joy that you have, because I know where I'm going and I'm giving my gift, and it's helping people, and it's making me significant, and it's making me secure, and I'm satisfied with the life that I'm living. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is that the reward is worth the effort. I want you to understand that the reward is worth the effort. And we're going to go quickly. How much time? Is it 8:30? What time is it? So I want to go quickly through this. Sorry about that. Jeez. Okay, so what are the benefits of practicing the principles covered in Reboot? You're going to have a sense of purpose. You're going to have consistent productivity. You're going to have a healthy self-esteem. You're going to have physical wellness. You're going to have better relationships. And you're going to have financial increase. So those are the rewards of success. Now, what is the cost of failure? The cost of failure is going to be broken relationships. The cost of failure is going to be alcoholism. The cost of failure is going to be drug abuse. If we don't apply these principles and we stay stuck and we stay hurting and we stay broken, we're going to turn into these things or stay in these things. Eventually, from that type of lifestyle, we end up behind bars or we go to jail. We end up in programs. We end up hurting ourselves because of this. We end up in poverty. Because we can't break out of poverty, because we have these bad habits, this old mentality, this poverty mindset. Eventually, we're just depressed. We're depressed. We're broken inside. We're sad with how life is turning out. And that depression many times turns into sickness. That depression turns into chaos in the body. And when there's chaos in the body gets sick. When the mind suffers, the body cries out with illness. That's not what we want. So I want you to understand, look at this guy. He wrote a letter to himself when he was young. Dear future me, YOLO, sincerely past me. YOLO. Too many people are writing future letters to themselves saying, YOLO, hey, you only live once, and you're living your partying your life away, drinking your life away, doing drugs, and your life's going past. You get old and you have nothing to show for it, and you read what you wrote to yourself. Dear future me, YOLO. That's not what we want to do, but today we want to do something that our future self is going to thank us for. We want to say, look at 10 years from now, that we can look back to our today self and say, thank you for taking Reboot. Thank you that you finally stepped out and made a change. And listen, I want you to believe that you can do it. And let's watch this kid. I love this kid. Let's listen to what he has to say about it.
If he could do it,
this isn't a movie.
He believed in himself. And you can too.
Oh man, you gonna put it on me like that?
You can do anything that you want. You can get singing lessons, get a better job, make more money. You could be even like rich. You could live in the White House someday. You could be president.
Me?
Do what you want to do.
You're
it's not about it's not up to other people.
It's true.
It's up to you.
It's true. I love you.
Check out that little kid. Such childlike faith. Just a little boy. And see, it's important that we understand that as we become adults, sometimes the stress of life and the negativity of people around us have destroyed our faith and our dreams and our beliefs. But I want you to start to believe again. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Listen, the decision is yours. And I'm closing right now. I want you to understand tonight the point of this class, that you can change, that you have the ability, you have the responsibility, and the reward is worth the effort. It's time for you to believe in yourself now. It's time for you to stop worrying about the doubters and the haters and the people that don't believe in you. Who cares what they think? They're not living in your reality. They're not living your life. They don't have to go home with you. It's you and you. You got to decide for yourself. I'm going to believe in me. I've been created for something special. I'm not average. I'm not mediocre. I'm the exception. I'm going to be different. I'm going to be my best self. That's what I want you to understand here tonight. Listen, my friends, I know I went a little long, so I'm going to close it up. I want you to know that I love you. Next week, we're going to go into our remix session. We're going to have some great panelists come on. Don't miss out next week. Believe in yourself. Listen, download the information they sent you. It has the weekly challenges. I love you guys. Thank you for coming to Reboot.